Here's one of the headlines that is of interest lately, which is Taiwan, and it says there the U.S. can't fight China for Taiwan, but it can help Taiwan make China think twice about starting a war. You make it expensive, you make it cost ineffective, cost in lives, and the economy is destroyed, that sort of thing. And this is a lieutenant colonel, somewhat prominent in the news lately, defending the notion that the United States should not go to war against China to defend Taiwan. In fact, what he says is give them weapons, yeah, but let them take care of their own security. And if China decides to attack, lay off. And he says his view is not accepted very well in Washington. It looks like everybody is a hawk over there, and they say if China takes Taiwan by force, the United States will intervene militarily. And the question to you is, will that be the end of humanity? I mean, are they going to stop at conventional weapons, or are they going to continue all the way to nuclear weapons? That's the issue. And yeah, if there is going to be a war sometime in the future, you better learn the word Taiwan, because I think it's going to be because of Taiwan. Forget about the Korean War, Vietnam War, Afghanistan War. None of that will matter. If they go head to head with China, my take on that is it's all over. Okay, and they may not have a choice, because if they don't go to war, then what's going to happen is the Chinese are going to pass them and just keep going. And one way or the other, the United States is going to lose. So I think the United States will be forced to go to war and create some incident, possibly a false flag, something like that. That's very common. Okay, here we have another issue. Warehouse jobs, recently thought of as jobs of the future, are suddenly jobs few workers want. Everybody's on COVID, everybody's at home receiving checks, and nobody wants to go to work. And I once suggested that that situation where you want to solve the world's problems, or even worse, I mean, like solve them, like, when death gets to you, you solved all your problems. That sort of solve problems, right? You want to cause extinction, very easy, very, very easy. All you have to do is give every person on earth $1 million. See how easy it was? You give everyone on earth $1 million, and then lots of people, I would say at least half the population, if not a lot more, will not go to work. Everybody say, oh, I'm going to take a vacation. And there's going to be no place to have a vacation because there won't be any services because everybody's on vacation. And so, yeah, you want to destroy the world economy, very easy. Just give everybody $1 million, which is more or less what these people are doing. They're creating money, with a magic wand. Okay, and here, we have that situation. They're giving money to people. People stay at home. And a lot of people say, well, I think I'm going to be choosy about the next job I get. And so it says that Amazon, Target, Walmart, all these big corporations, they pledge to create hundreds of thousands of these positions at competitive wages and increasingly with perks like free college, etc., right? But the industry is facing an unexpected problem. Far too few people are willing to take on the often grueling work, according to industry officials and economic data. What do you think of that? Yeah, a lot of people don't want to work. They want to make money easy because they see other people make easy money. And so work is going to be a word that they're going to remove from the dictionary. That's what's going to happen eventually. Okay, we had some issues, several guys here, which apparently have problems with women catching up or even overtaking them. It challenges their manhood. And so they're worried. And all I can say about this is we're in a new age, guys. And some of these comments that you're going to see here, shows that these people are, floating on air. They don't have their feet on the ground anymore. And you'll see it becomes quite obvious. Okay, here we have one guy that says, just because one species isn't equal to another doesn't magically mean women are or could be equal to men. Yeah, I agree. I mentioned that situation there where you put a guy and a lioness in the Colosseum, right, to fight, and my money's going to be on the on the lioness. And you say, how can that possibly be? She's a female, and he's a male, and he might even be bigger than the lioness, at least taller for sure, right? Well, but see, she's got skills that this guy doesn't have. She's got velocity, speed. She's got a lot of stuff this guy doesn't have. And so to say that he can really face a lioness and beat her, I don't know. My money's on her. Okay, and again, I'm not saying that. I use this as an analogy. Can women eventually catch up with men in speed, in strength, in things which are traditionally male? Okay, is it that we just kept them behind? We kind of squeezed them and didn't let them rise. Is that what the issue was? Could it be that now that women are asking for all this equality, etc., maybe if we give them enough time, right, 100 years, whatever, maybe 200 years, that they come up to speed and they match man one for one in boxing and especially in the tough sports like wrestling, boxing, um, speed, weightlifting. I mean, is there something a woman in that sense cannot do that a man can do? And why would she be relegated behind a man? Is it this estrogen testosterone issue? And a lot of men today, and in a certain way I understand them, are threatened by this. Their manhood is being threatened, and say they don't like the fact that women are catching up first legally and becoming our equals. That's already a problem. But if they also match us in strength and speed and so on, well, they've taken our manhood away, right? And this is the issue. But we live in a different time. And all I'm saying is, you may have your dreams there of what should be ideal. Man should be like this, women should be like that. But see, we're the last humans on Earth. We're the last generation of humans on Earth. The last generation is going to experience something a little different than all the other generations. And part of that is this equality, this diversity thing that's coming up. Okay, we're all in the cities, and we don't have this issue of, I got to lift the log. I'm going to do the hunting. You stay at home. You take care of the kitchen. That era is gone. Now everybody lives more or less a bachelor life. Um, Even those who get married get divorced and go on their own ways. No kids, fewer kids as time goes by. So we're moving into a society where we have singles out there, and each one takes care of his own needs and etc. And so they don't really need to get together for a long time like in the old days. We have a society of singles. That's the society of the service economy. And so that's the point that I'm trying to make with all this. I want you to notice that something has changed, which is drastically different than what used to be in the past. 19th century, all the way to maybe the 1970s, 1980s, we had the nuclear family because we had manufacturing. Now we're in the service economy, and service economy is the last stage of man's economy, and it's a society where we don't have any more the nuclear family. The nuclear family will die gradually, and it will give way to individuals, to solitary bachelors living in a multitude of bachelors. That's the world that is coming up. So you get a new world now, and part of that is this equality thing. Not only legal equality, where women not only vote, et cetera, but also physical equality. And you might say, well, no, they'll never catch up with us. Well, the only reason you think like that is because we've always kept them down, and now they're catching up. And I can't tell you because I don't know the future, but I can tell you for one thing, they are catching up. They're shrinking the distances between men and women, the records, etc. And the question is, will they ever catch up? And I don't know. I don't know the answer. It's for you to think about, okay? Anyways, here we have someone says, some women can compete against the average man, okay? As of now, they cannot compete effectively in most strength sports against athletic men. Yeah, as of now. Okay, let's keep that in mind. If we consider two humans born the same day, started training the same day, etc., I believe in strength sports men still have an edge. Yeah, today. No doubt about that. Not because of testosterone and estrogen, but rather all the genetical factors within the classification of the male sex. Yeah, it could be the genetic factors, and that could be the limiting factor for women. That's one possibility. Another possibility is that, they lag behind because we've kept them behind. And now they're catching up, and the question is, do we have any genetic advantage over women? Are women becoming taller and taller on the average faster than men are becoming taller? Because men are becoming taller as well, but women are also catching up, and maybe they're becoming, on the average, taller faster than men are growing in tallness, how large they are. And so, you have women out there that are 7 feet tall even today, because women are also growing. Okay? So, I don't know. Will the averages eventually even out? I don't know. I can't tell you, but it's something for you to ponder. Other animals, like gorillas, they have a big difference between the gorilla male and the female gorilla. Okay, it's dimorphism, extreme dimorphism. But among the monkeys, we are the ones with the least physical dimorphism first, and maybe that's because women have caught up with us men. They are becoming our equals in many ways, and the question is, will they become equals also in physical prowess or architecture or whatever you want to call it, morphology? Okay, another fellow, and here you can see what these people, they're floating in air, okay? You definitely overrate women. Oh, I don't know, I'm not overrating, I'm just telling you the facts. They may get better over a long period of time, but I doubt that as well, as it would require extreme conditions and lots of bottlenecks, okay? If you look in comparing of random men in street fight videos and Ronda's fights, Ronda Rousey I talked about the other day, you'll see that Ronda is superior only in technique. Oh, just only. Yeah, a lioness is only superior in technique. Lioness doesn't have to be stronger, in fact, than a human male, right? All she has to do is just beat you in speed, and she can, scratch you. Okay, you'll see that Ronda is superior only in technique. An average man has more aggression, speed, strength, size, stronger body structure, and is better suited psychologically for stressful situations. These people really believe this. They think that they can beat Ronda if they get in the ring with her. And oh man, I would love to see that. I would love to go there with my beer and a little bag of potato chips, because it's going to last 10 seconds, the fight. And what would I watch? Well, I would watch this guy being thrown out of the ring. That's what I would watch. These guys really think that, oh, she's just a little girl. Ronda is not a little girl, guys. Ronda Rousey and all these girls that do kickboxing and so on, they are gladiators. Get it through your thick skulls. They are gladiators. They're trained fighters. And to say, well, I'm bigger than her, I weigh 50 pounds more than her, well, it just means you're just going to be slower. Or, the more you weigh, the harder you fall. That's all it is. She's going to run circles around you. Okay? She'll know when to hit you because she already sees these spots. I did wrestling when I was a kid. I did karate, and I know a little bit about that. Okay, I'm not an expert, but I do know a little bit because I like to do those sports. And I can tell you, I don't think I want to get in the ring with with Ronda. Especially, I don't want to get into the cage if the fight is to the finish. Like to the finish. No, I'd rather be in the ring, because in that case, I can climb over the ropes and get out of there, so she doesn't kill me. Yeah, for these guys to believe that they can really beat Ronda, they don't even have their feet on the ground anymore. Okay, you're really dreaming, fellas. You're watching too much TV and eating too much popcorn at home. Go into the ring and see if you can match good old little Ronda, that little girl. She's gonna mop the floor with you. Okay, here we have another comment. It says, transgender male to female, we know they don't really become real women, since there ain't an alchemical magical component that transmutates a man into a woman. Yeah, in other words, you have the XY and the XX chromosomes. You cannot, even if a male believes he's a woman or vice versa, and they make this sex change operation, it doesn't mean because of that he's going to change the XY in one case, the XX in the other, right? And that's how you can tell a man from a woman. Today, you need to go to that level to find out who's a man, who's a woman, And then all this other stuff about bathrooms and so on, that's just politics, okay? But transgenderism is a result of inbreeding, because it is often found out in people with a lot of mental psychopathologies like autism, BPD, schizophrenia, dementia, body dysmorphia, etc. Yeah, my take on that is that this is an issue that we're having today, of genetics, primarily of genetics. We did inbreeding for so long, and still doing it today. And in that sense, I think we're at the end of the line also. We don't have too long to go. Even if the economy did not destroy us, if the economy did not collapse, I think we would die in a background extinction. In other words, our single species, even though we would probably take other animals with us, but we would die for a different reason altogether, which is the overturning of our population pyramid and the loss of genetic diversity. Essentially, those two factors will create the death of our species. But we're fortunate. We're not going to die like that, which is an agonizing death, which is what the Neanderthals suffered. No, we're going to die in a mass extinction. We're going to take all the animals with us. Okay, we have the power to do that, by the way. Okay, another fellow says, Says countries with greater gender equality index show greater inequalities, okay, between the sexes, because when you neutralize environment, you free genetics, and if genetics are different, it shows the differences even more than before. Okay, so women today, because they are free, actually gravitate more towards traditionally feminine jobs rather than the opposite. Great examples are Norwegian gender equality paradox and Israeli kibbutz. The only exceptions are women from restricting countries, like I guess the Arab countries he's referring to, going to freer ones wanting to try out what they have been kept doing from doing. This fellow is referring really to an agricultural society, and he thinks that that's the way we're going. You know, it's the other way around. This is what's dying. In fact, the kolkhozes in Russia, they disappeared already. There are no kolkhozes there. Kibbutz, there's still a few out there, but again, they're kind of like stimulated by the government for those people who like to live in communes and do farming and live in in groups and so on. Socialists who have this idealism in their heads. Well, yeah, they still have these kibbutz, but the kibbutz life is a farming life, and there women had you had division of labor there. You cannot say that in a society where we are all office workers, we're going to have the same situation. It's totally different. You cannot generalize this and extrapolate it to the city life. Okay, and the fellow continues really. He says, but women born in freer countries actually become more womanish in their choices. Most women, and I put their STEM because this comes out of an article or several studies that they made out there where they say that women are not oriented towards science, technology, mathematics, and I can't remember what the E was, but equations maybe. But anyways, it's saying like women are not science oriented. That's what this study more or less showed. Other people criticized it, saying that it was not that it had faults. The study had faults. Anyways, the point here is that this fellow is using this as an example. It says most women today are becoming more traditionally feminine in their life decisions in the West than masculine. Most athlete women have fertility issues intrinsically linked to physical efforts. Thus, over time, this is not a fit strategy. Well, really, I don't see it this way at all. I see it exactly in the opposite. You've heard of masculinization of women and feminization of men. And there was an article that I looked up, and I just took some bits and pieces out of it just to give the main points. It says, some men assert their manhood by stressing their heterosexuality in order to compensate for this feminization of men. This move marks a clear rejection of homosexuality, seen as the personification of the feminine man. Western society has been moving in the direction of what? Greater gender equality since the feminist revolution. As well as focusing on their careers, women can now be self-sufficient and strong. So yeah, I agree more with the one on the right and not with the fellow on the left. Okay, I think we're moving in the opposite direction to what he's saying there. And that's my take. Everybody makes his own assumptions, but that's the assumption I work under. Okay, I'm saying we're headed in. I can't say the wrong direction. It's not a wrong direction. It's not an irrational direction. It's just the fact. That's the direction in which we're headed. Okay, and so all I'm saying is you have to meet reality and try to absorb it and just take it like it is. Accept what's out there. You cannot deny what's out there. These people say, I can beat Ronda Rousey. You got your feet off the ground, guy. Get down back to earth. She can slaughter you, okay? She's not a little girl. She's a gladiator. That's what she is. Okay, we have a couple COVID comments. One person says the vaccines you referred to are built in a different way and are called perfect because it will protect from getting a disease, so it ends the transmission chain. Okay, there are leaky vaccines as well. They do not prevent transmission and cause more dangerous mutations. Marek's disease is a reference you can check. I'm not into this stuff at all. Okay, first of all, I'm saying that disease doesn't cause the extinction of man. That's one issue. And then the other one is that I'm not into medicine at all. I don't care at all about medicine and all this stuff. The COVID, the only reason I raised the subject is I got the shots. I got my second shot a couple weeks now, and I think I got sick because of that. But I got the shots only because I plan to travel, and I don't want the hassle that we have out there still, and probably for some time to come. But other than that, I don't care about the COVID because it doesn't affect my life at all. I was a year and a half, whenever it started, without paying even attention to it, to the subject matter, because I don't care about it. It doesn't affect me at all. But people who work with lots of people, they might be a little more concerned, especially if they're young. If you're 20, 25 years old and you're working in a place where you got lots of people, you may be concerned about that. You say, well, I don't know enough about it to make a decision. I better get the shot. But see, in my case, I didn't care about the shot because I don't work with a lot of people, etc. I do research, do a lot of lonely stuff. It's something that doesn't affect me. It's only when I go out there and travel that they give me a lot of hassles, and I say, no, I'm not going to fight City Hall. I'm just going to go with the flow. Did I get the poison in there? Yeah, I got some poison in there. Does it do any good? I don't know if it did or not. I don't care. It's just a non-issue for me. Okay. Another fellow says on COVID, he says, why would you care about being forced to accept experimental gene therapy if you got a shot as a kid? Seriously. Yeah, I said the other day that, kids get shots when they go to school, elementary school. That's government mandated. They accept it. It's like nobody protests, nobody fights against it or challenges it, except maybe some religious folk, out there. But they got their shots, and now they say, oh, but I'm not going to get the COVID shot because it's mandated by the government, it's experimental, and blah, blah, blah. Yeah, but all shots are really experimental. Remember, what was it, in the 50s, we had the Salk vaccine for, what was it, polio. And then later they had a better vaccine, which was the Sabine. And so all these vaccines are really experimental. And if the bug evolves, you got to evolve the vaccine to catch up with it. And so they become experimental as time goes by. So, again, we're all guinea pigs in a sense. Yeah, no doubt about it. And you're taking a risk, maybe a lesser risk. I don't know if you take the shot than if you don't. I don't know. This is something that I'm not into at all. I don't even research that subject matter. I do research disease only in reference to population because, like, smallpox was the biggest killer in the history of life, history of man. Right? It's probably the disease that killed the most people in time. You heard of the bubonic plague. It's probably up there with that first one with smallpox. But I think smallpox was the big one. And once we conquered smallpox, we could live longer. And so what happened is our great-grandfathers, those that passed smallpox, they passed those good genes to us, and smallpox no longer, even if it's out there, I don't think it could cause as much devastation as it did, hundreds of years ago. Okay, as a kid, I accepted what authorities told me, okay? And so now he's grown up, I guess, okay? And that has changed. I now know viral transmission infection has never been demonstrated, okay? So he changed his religion. He believes in something else. That's fine. I mean, nothing wrong with that. You don't believe in bugs and antibodies and all that stuff? Okay, no problem. But what I'm saying is you did get a shot before, and you say, well, I was a kid. I had no choice in the matter. My folks told me to get the shot, or the teachers told me to get the shot, or the government, and so you had to accept it. And now you say, well, now I'm not taking it any longer. That's fine. Again, it's whichever religion, whichever God you pray to. Okay. Okay. Here we have a couple more issues. Paul says, you maintain that your theory of extinction is not discussed elsewhere, but is the phenomena of natural loss of plant genetic diversity recognized by other theorists? And he continues, says, given that it is recognized by others, just looked it up, why do you think that if no one else has put the pieces together and proposed this as a mechanism for extinction? Okay, good question, I think. I'll give you my peace of mind on that. I'll tell you why. And this is the reason. No one on planet Earth follows or ever followed the scientific method. Okay, the scientific method started at the beginning of this century. Now, I'm not boasting here, I'm not bragging, that's not my point. My point is I'm stating a fact. We have a different scientific method, okay, in this channel, okay, and that's the one we're going to follow. And we say that's the correct scientific method. It's the rational scientific method. And why? Because for the first time, we're going to explain causes. We're going to explain mechanisms in physics, right, primarily. And so what these people never did was explain. Maybe we did here and there, but if it was by luck, because the purpose of the current scientific method, so-called scientific method, we call it the mathematical method, is just to describe, make predictions, do experiments, and gain, win prizes. That's what it's all about. It's to certify and win prizes to certify authority. Okay, and so science is not equal to observation, prediction, experiment, evidence, persuading, convincing, winning prizes, and authority, which is what we have today. That's not science. That's not the scientific method. What is science? Rational explanations. Okay, so we have a new paradigm shift. And until you understand that, you didn't understand what this channel is about. Okay, paleontology. What is it? Explaining the mechanisms of extinction. Paleontology is not going out there in the field, dusting some bones, assembling them, and giving them some fancy name, and getting some prize or charging people so that they can go to a museum and see or whatever you assembled there. That's not paleontology. Paleontology is one thing and one thing only, and it's explaining to people what caused the extinction of animals. Once we're done with that, we're done with paleontology. Nobody wants to hear about paleontology again. All we need is the mechanism. How did animals in the past die? And today we don't have a single rational theory out there for how the animals in the past died. We have the most popular one, the asteroid theory, that says an asteroid hit the Earth 65 million years ago and killed all the dinosaurs. And again, it's an irrational theory from many angles. I've covered that in the past, but just summarizing, you have to use different mechanisms to kill animals in different habitats and around the world. Okay, and then the big problem there is that you cannot explain selectivity, why the mammals and the angiosperms continued and why the conifers and the dinosaurs died. And they cannot explain that with the asteroid. Asteroid does not have the ability to distinguish between one animal and the other, and even worse, an asteroid has no way of distinguishing chronologically. What died were the old animals and plants. What survived were the young animals and plants. Asteroid does not know the difference between young and old. So not only between animals like mammals and dinosaurs, or plants like conifers and angiosperms, but it cannot distinguish between past and present. And that's what has not been answered. Okay, so that's the point. And as a result, the scientists of today look for evidence. That's why. They're looking for evidence, and they purport to extract some from observations and experiments. That's the problem. In science, we don't do experiments. In science, we explain them. So the results, or why it happened that way. So in science, what you got to do is lay back, drink a couple beers, and visualize the mechanism so that you can explain it to someone. That's what science is about. But going out there and collecting data and running experiments without understanding anything and say, oh, I collected a lot of data. Okay, did you make sense of it? Oh, no, but I did the experiment, so I'm a scientist. And I did observe, so I'm a scientist. And here's all the data, and so I'm a scientist. And here's the equation that I got from all the data, and I'm a scientist. No, you're not a scientist until you can explain the cause, the mechanism. Okay, so that's why they haven't figured this out. And we ended up with technology and irrational explanations and no understanding of the underlying causes and mechanisms. Okay, so that's my 2 cents worth on that. And so you just take it for what you want. Okay?